I'm not going to sing the theme song. The young crew in the movie does that, and they get made fun of. But I will say, January is saved! What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking the third film in the Bad Boys trilogy now, and that is Bad Boys for Life. I need you in the comments down below. Were you looking forward to this film, and did you enjoy it? And let's get into it. So, Bad Boys for Life. The Bad Boys, Mike Lowrey and Marcus Burnett, are back together for one last ride in the highly anticipated Bad Boys for Life. I do want to say real quick, my boy Chris, 3C Films, and I are going to be doing a spoiler review, and let me tell you, there are spoilers to talk about with this film, so find us on youtube.com/filmstrippers. We're going to be doing that tomorrow. So, of course, we have Martin Lawrence, who apparently came out of retirement to be in this film, and I find that just sad because he was retired and I didn't know that, but awesome because I love Martin Lawrence. And then Will Smith. We all know Will Smith. Most of us love Will Smith. I think he's fantastic. And the thing that drove the original two films for me, it was the chemistry between the two. I am more of a casual fan of this franchise. I don't hold the first two movies in high regard, and I know a lot of people do, but I went back and watched them this week, and I was like, they're fun. You know, I prefer the first. There's some great action beats in the second, but I don't hold them on this pedestal that many do, like I said. Now, this third movie coming in and slightly switching things up, but really trying to bring back the magic 17 years later is a tough task. We've seen this in many franchises before. Comedies have tried it multiple times. We've got Zoolander 2 and Dumb and Dumber 2, and then the action franchises. Sometimes it's successful. And now, I take the Fast and Furious franchise. It didn't have a long hiatus like Bad Boys, but they kind of revamped it and turned it into something fresh with Fast 5. And two very different tones to very different situations, but I'm going to make multiple comparisons to Fast 5 with Bad Boys for Life. I'm not saying this is as well made of a movie as that film. It's actually tough to compare the two, but Bad Boys for Life is my favorite movie in this franchise now. Bad Boys for Life was bold, action-packed, really fun. It recaptured the magic from the first two. And even if you're not super attached to this franchise, there is a distinct look, style, color correction, feel that Michael Bay brings to those two films. Now, Michael Bay didn't return in this movie to direct. I thought I saw a cameo from Michael Bay. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm like, is that Michael Bay in an acting role? Probably wrong. But this time we have two Belgium-based directors, and they're kind of newcomers on the scene, Adil and Bilal. They're very well known, and our writer's room is packed, which can sometimes be a bad thing, but you have names like Joe Carnahan in there, and I'm a massive fan of him, and a couple of other names here, so I'm like, this is a good crew to take on this film. You get Martin Lawrence back, and then you have some nice newcomers, and Alexander Ludwig and Charles Melton, Vanessa Hudgens, so that makes for something that is a bit more interesting for me than just bringing back the original two and going on another semi-forgettable mission. We're not here normally for the mission. We're not really here for the bad guy. We're here for the chemistry between the two, and that is what has stayed consistent throughout the entire franchise. It runs through them, and they are back to form here. Now, they are approaching things a bit differently because, obviously, they're older, so they're not the same rambunctious and crazy guys that they used to be. They do make certain decisions within this film that come off that way, but that's because that's their nature. That's what they do. But this film is not just that. This time around, we have some more believable, more memorable villains that have a certain motivation that I actually bought and I was genuinely invested in. Not the best we've ever seen in an action film, but hey, I think it's the best villains we've seen from any of the films, and then we have certain motivations for our characters who face trials and tribulations in this film that we have not faced yet. I believe the stakes in this film are higher. I believe the reason for them getting back into what they end up getting into are definitely there, and they're showcased, and this film gets emotional at times. It is a gut punch every now and then because even if you don't love the other films, you still love these two actors, so you're going to buy the way that they feel, not only about the mission, not only about accomplishing certain things and the relationships that they build up within this team, which I thought were genuinely good as well, but the way that they feel about each other. And the constant back and forth. Mike is always giving Marcus a hard time, and then when it calls for it, Marcus comes back, and Marcus came back harder in this film than he has in any other movie, and I found Martin Lawrence to be in full form, glorious Martin Lawrence mode in this movie, man. I'm so happy to see him back. And the action scenes, let's talk about the action scenes, and not that I hated the direction from Michael Bay in the other two movies. Every now and then it just came off as a tad bit frantic, which did add some entertainment value within those two films. But this time, we scaled back when we had to. The action wasn't as close up and shaky as it normally is. We could see pretty much everything that was happening on screen. Nothing as full throttle, nonstop entertaining as what we saw in the second film, but I actually prefer some of these set pieces here. And the third act, I thought the entire sequence, not going to get into what it was, the action sequence that happens in that building with the staircase and the fire shooting up, I found that to be immensely entertaining. I love some of the camera angles, and I'm like, this is, not fully, but it's kind of reminding me of how I feel about the action in John Wick. And that's awesome, man. Will Smith, Martin Lawrence, just awesome. I was having a great time, dude, in the theater. Just ride or die, baby. Bad Boys for Life. I'm not saying this movie was perfect, right? There are some clear issues within there that make it feel a tad bit more generic than you want in certain points. Some of the dialogue was a bit on the nose, and they do shoehorn in some references and Easter eggs. I'm just like, oh, we could have done without that. There are things that you could easily nitpick about this film, especially when you get into some of the editing, which I still have a minor issue with. It's something consistent throughout this entire franchise. But let me tell you, if we're talking a good action movie with two great action stars with phenomenal chemistry, if you're a fan of this franchise, oh boy, I cannot wait for you all to see this. My goodness, I cannot wait to see what the response is. And if you're not a fan, this could win you over. This could win you over, and it is my favorite movie of 2020 so far. Not a lot of competition, but we finally saw a good one. Count me in on this franchise from here on out. I hope we get more. If you guys enjoyed this review, if you like what we do on this channel, be sure to smash that thumbs up button. And I'm going 74% for Bad Boys for Life. Really good movie, worth seeing in a theater. Certain things technically that made me appreciate it even more. There's one moment when the camera is moving from inside to outside, and you cut to that outside audio, and you hear the train and the ambulance in the background. And certain things like that I just appreciated, but you don't get that when you're at home. You get that in a theater, so I encourage you guys to go see it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comments down below, are you a fan of this franchise? Did you enjoy this movie? I'll be back very soon with another Netflix review, and I'll talk to you guys later.